This is a GK Media podcast.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode with Niall Leyden and myself, Garry Kelly, where every Friday we try and focus on 4 pillars in life: health, wealth, business and family. And this week, Niall, I want to focus on health. And we are gym buddies.
Yeah, amongst other things.
And we met over a year ago in a sauna. That's another story for another day.
The climb on.
Yeah. But, and look, we do loads of different things together, but something that we do regularly is we meet up in the gym and we be huffing and panting and roaring at each other and literally sweating and crying at the same time. It's wonderful. But we're both aware of the importance of looking after ourselves, because the ripple effect that has for both ourselves, but family, for business, relationships, everything.
It's ironic how our paths crossed. I mean, been part of the same hotel and leisure facilities, and one that I'd been member for years and hadn't really used. Brenda swims there 3-4 mornings a week early, does her 100 lengths and the kids and all of that. So I think it was, there was a good gang in. I think there was, Mulcullen had won a football match and we were having a chat, and all of a sudden the rest, as I say, is history. But to your point, Garry, I mean, health is just everything.
Yeah.
Health is just everything. And I've seen that firsthand. I really, really, really have. And you look at in business, you look in family, you look in all walks of life, no matter where you go or what you do, or, health is everything. You cannot pour from an empty jug. How you do anything is how you do everything. And it was only last year in August when I started on this journey myself, I realized in business, I mean, in Schmocht, in our mastermind, we meet every 2 weeks and we're repeatedly asked, the first question always is, share your victories. What's going well? Under the 3 headings of business, family and health. And I was consistently, thankfully, with family, for me, it's something that we're both passionate about. It's 1, 2 and 3 really. I mean, with the kids and Brenda and mum and dad. So that was always brilliant and is, and thankfully, long may that continue.
Yeah.
Business, we had a phenomenal year last year. Our first year in business, fabulous. And health, it was slipping and slipping and slipping and slipping. So, my sleep was suffering, my mood was suffering, my energy was suffering. The client proposition was brilliant and that was grand, but I wasn't feeling that really good about myself.
And that can be a thing in business where business is doing really well, but we start sacrificing a lot of our own well-being for the business to do well. But that's a short-term reaction. So we only have a certain amount of energy. We only have a certain amount of time during the day. So, we're trying to put time into ourselves, we're trying to put time into our family, and we're trying to put time into the business. And if the business does well, the family does well, and so on. And then maybe we do well because we have freedom to do other things and so on. But you put so much of your own energy into the business that after a while you're burnt out, you've no energy, and then it all starts kind of creeping back then in the business, where it's really about getting that balance, but firstly putting yourself first so you can be pumping then all the energy into relationships and into business, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. And I felt like I was procrastinating. So we're talking about, we don't chase a better return. It's a better life. So it's a return on life, not a return on your investments. And we do that very passionately and we do it very well. And I just found myself nearly apologizing to clients that, I was carrying, excess weight. My energy I felt was off. My focus was a little off, and something had to change. Because you can't, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk.
But can you talk to us about the massive health journey you've taken in the past 9 months, really? Because it's extraordinary. It's inspiring.
Yeah, it's quite uncomfortable even talking about it. I think I'll bring it back to.
But it's amazing what you've done now.
Look, it's what most people do normally and naturally. It just took. It probably all started, if the truth be told, 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago, with what Mark said to me when he was 10. He's 14 now. In the middle of COVID, there was them 3 accidents, 2 of them nearly fatal, but I was just in this mire and this fog and this wallow.
Just sorry to interrupt, but if anyone hasn't heard the previous in-depth conversation we had earlier in the Garry Talks series, you were in 3 accidents. 1 was a car crash and 2 were cycling accidents. And 2 of them, as you said, were near fatal. But after the third one, you'd lost all confidence, depressed, I suppose, to a degree, feeling, anyone in that scenario would naturally be kind of feeling sorry for themselves, because you just feel the rug has been pulled from under you numerous of times. And you're sitting at the table and your son says, "Dad, why do you keep telling everyone you're so unlucky?"
Yeah, and I mean, you've explained that much more eloquently than I ever will. I mean, and that was just it. I mean, for somebody for so long, from an outsider looking in, people would have said, well, he has it all. I mean, he has a good job, a good wife, great kids, a good business. He's in that corporate wealth management, financial planning world, dealing with really strong businesses and learning all the time. But, I knew there was something missing, and maybe the 3 accidents were the world's way of slowing me down to speed me up. And
Yeah.
I remember, I found refuge in the Atlantic. We're fortunate enough to live 10 minutes from it, and I was in it 2, 3, 4 times a day for all of COVID, and came back one morning, the electricity was out. We have a stove at home, and Brenda was making an omelette, and all I wanted to do was get in the shower, the electric shower, and actually it wasn't electric because the electricity was out, but I was just cold, and Mark just turned to me, he was having cornflakes, and he said, "Daddy, can I say something to you?" And I said, "That sounds something like what my own dad would have said to me growing up." He says, why everywhere we go are you telling everyone how lucky you are? You're lucky you're still here. And the reason I'm sharing that, and the conversations really around health, I mean, that was just clarity in a storm. That was just like getting a knife in the heart. I hadn't cried since my grandmother had passed 25 plus years ago, and I sat in the shower for 20 minutes saying, what am I at? Where am I going? And what am I doing? And it was in that day and that moment on that tile I decided I was going to follow my dream, setting up Atlantic Wealth Management, which the kids called. And so my health, I would have always been reasonably active, love sport. I absolutely love sport. We all do in our house. Set up the business, and just my weight I just was getting heavier and heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
And I thought my nutrition was fairly on point, but I was just with traveling and working and on the road and in all 26 counties. And I reached a crisis point. I was down at my sister's house last August, and our dog, which we'd had for 10 years, was on his way out. So I was bringing my daughter, Michelle, down on her 10th birthday to pick up the dog we have now, Willow. She's a cross between a retriever and a cocker spaniel. But we stayed over with Valerie in Limerick that night, and I remember her sending on a photograph in our family group the following day, and I was nearly physically sick with what I was looking at. So I reached out to a friend of mine that I've been following for years, Mark Tregelis. He has a business called 30 Plus Men's Fitness. He's based in Wales, and I engaged him, to do some work with me in terms of accountability. And, we all know what we need to do, but saying it and doing it are two different things.
100%, yeah.
So I went on a journey with him, and I said, look, if you can help me between now and the 15th of December, which is when we were having our last smocked gathering in Salt Hill, and we were having our big leader summit, and I just said, look, the target is £50. And if and when I do that, I'll bring you over to Galway for a night or two and we'll celebrate it. And I hit that £50 target the day of the event. And we've kicked on from there. We've joined the same gym here in Galway, Duca Gym there. And that's, sleeping better, feeling better, thinking better, moving better. Client outcomes are better, much more enriched. Just got back to doing what I always loved. I'm a morning person, up at 6 o'clock, ice bath, swims.
Yeah, you were up since 5 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
And just full of it. Like, I met you at about 8:15 this morning. You were leaving the gym.
Yeah.
Full of energy.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of out of bed maybe half an hour or something like that. Hadn't had my morning coffee yet. But like, you're just full of energy.
It's
6 months in this year. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's all again because you've focused on improving your health. So you've more energy. As you said, you're sleeping better, you're eating better, you're loving life, the mood, everything has a massive knock-on effect. You've more clarity, And I'm saying it because I've had the experience myself, I'm not up at 5 a.m, but...
I'm not up. The kids would say, Daddy, you don't do that all of the time, but certainly in recent weeks and months, and I'm not an apostle and I don't have all of the answers, and I'm probably doing what a lot of people have always done. I was always a morning person, but I'm very much grounded in not so much the weighing scale, the non-scale victories, my clarity, my focus, working in the business, working with our team, working with our clients, working with people like yourselves, being more present for the kids, being involved. Mark's just back from 3 or 4 days in Leyden there. They were in a Connacht final this year, Galway Bay Rugby Club. Great weekend. Brenda went. I'm off on the cycle against suicide. We're doing the top to the bottom of Portugal next week. great cause, something I'm very passionate about. I've done Missing to Malin. But I attribute that just to getting very intentional and very present and very focused on, what are the benefits for my family, for my friends, for my clients, and me being a better person and being the best version of me. Because whilst business has been phenomenal and brilliant and great and will always be that, I need to be the best version of me because the kids are always watching. In 10 years, Mark's going to be 24. Michelle's going to be 20. I don't want to think about that. But anyways, yeah. So
but it's the thing where you want to have the energy for the important people in your life at the weekends or in the evenings. But, at the weekends, you don't want to come Friday evening and you just want to slump on the couch and open up a bottle and eat chocolate and crisps.
Yeah.
And kind of that element of self-love because you've just put so much of yourself into your Monday to Friday week. Do you know what I'm saying?
And what I'd share there, Garry, is the accountability. The part of the group that we are in the gym. There's a group of 4 of us there that
in a WhatsApp group,
which is great.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. Okay, I know I like the early mornings and getting into the sea and kicking off, and I do my best work in the office in the morning, just lock and load, phone on silent. Thankfully, Connie, and the team there that will just manage that whole back office so that I'm present with my clients. I'm on the road. So more often than not, I try and base myself in Galway on Mondays and Fridays, and Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, I'm all over the country meeting clients. But, and it's just finding that space and finding that time, whether it's in a hotel or wherever you are, to get up, move more, eat less. If the sea is close by, be in it. That has changed my life. That saved my life. And that's why we call the business what we did.
Because of you, I got a dry rope.
I need to get another one. The current one is swimming on me.
I didn't steal yours.
Yeah.
But, the sea swimming again, it's like if I think of in the last year or so that I've met you, so I joined another gym. I've changed my diet. I do sea swimming. Even like before I would have done a thing where I'd say, okay, maybe for the month of October, I'll stop drinking alcohol. Now, like I would be off alcohol. I've been off alcohol longer the first 6 months of 2025 than I have been on it. If that,
That makes perfect sense, Garry.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last year. So I made a promise to myself. I just did 120 days alcohol free. Don't get me wrong. I certainly work very hard. But I also, like to play hard if we're away for a weekend. But it's all for me. It's about the kids, about the family. And say we were in Westport there for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. We had a brilliant weekend and we had a few jars. We're doing this cycle next week. I'm going to say predominantly alcohol free because I'm told, one of the guys told me only last week, it's 13% higher than Mount Everest. So wow. I'm a big lad getting up them mountains. But it's you can have everything and anything, but I think health is certainly wealth, and even in financial planning and in wealth management, it's having that financial hygiene, whether it's automating your savings or paying yourself first. Get into the habit of doing it on a regular basis. But and even the ketogenic, I've been training fairly hard for the last 10 weeks for this cycle against suicide, but I've been 100% ketogenic. And I was nervous about that. People talk a lot around carb loading, and I said, well, do you know what? I'd much rather go a little bit slower, but be a good bit lighter, and all of that has come to pass. And I have to thank all of my cycling partners in Connemara for the last 10 weeks, putting up with me. It's been brilliant. But health is certainly wealth. And to the phrase we've talked about lots of different times, I'll let you share this with the listeners around a sick man and a healthy man. Yeah, well,
a healthy man has thousands of wishes. A sick man only has one wish.
And let that sit, Garry. I've been that sick man. I've seen that sick man. My brother in January, I'm the eldest of 4. We're very, very close. He had a scare. We all had a scare. He had thankfully got in time a stroke. He's 47. I'm 48. He's a year younger. Brilliant business person, a phenomenal father. He's involved in the community, in the football and the sport. Work. He got me into cycling. I admire him greatly. And we've had lots of conversations over the last 6 months. Thankfully, he's more focused now than ever on his health. But I just couldn't say enough about health being wealth. And, again, begin with the end in mind. We're looking at 10, 20, 30 years. What are we going to look like? What are we going to feel like?
Yeah. Like, how mobile do you want to be as a 70-year-old? How flexible do you want to be? How much strength do you want? If you want to be getting up in the morning and going about and being independent, and you need to invest in yourself now in your youth, whether that's in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. You need to invest in your health now. So when you are in your more elderly years, that you have that lifestyle of freedom and strength and movement that you want.
And people saying, I mean, and I've said it for so long, I've been that hypocrite, if you like, I haven't time.
Yeah.
This is just the funniest conversation. It's one I get quite emotive around, is that, you know, how do you make time in the morning to do an hour in the sea or in the gym or on the turbo during the winter? You know, you can't afford not to do this. I mean, because your business will suffer, your family will suffer, everything will suffer. So this is the old crutch that we've all had, but sure, we haven't time. And how have you time?
Yeah.
You know, just get up a little bit earlier. If you always do what's easy, you'll have a hard time. Oh, easy. I'm going to have to get you out of this. I'm a morning person. We need to start doing these chats 7 o'clock in the morning, not at 4 o'clock in the evening.
I woke up at 5:30 this morning, and it's like, I can get up, but I won't get up.
Get up. Mala Legia. Ganari and Borlat. May the road rise with you. Own the morning, own the day. I mean, if you do that right, and in fairness, you're doing it very well. But I'd encourage you to just get up that hour earlier. It's gold.
Yeah.
Go out on the back lawn, bare feet, cup of coffee, cup of tea, plan and plot your day, write it down, be grateful, and just make it happen.
I'll be like an antichrist by 12 noon.
On that note. How do I follow that?
Yeah. But look, I think what we're saying to people ultimately is focusing on your health has a massive ripple effect for you in life through all the different interactions and encounters you will have, whether personally or professionally.
And get the right people around you, Garry.
Yeah.
Get the right people around you.
Yeah.
In sport, like, not everyone is going to be into cycling. It could be football, could be rugby, could be triathlons. A walk. Yeah. Dad used to say to me for many, many years, and if he told me to not bang the door, I'd bang the door. He said, I'll walk for an hour without your phone. And I've been doing that for the last, 12 months. Well, I've been doing quite a bit of it recently. Early in the mornings, late in the evenings. Find that hour. Maybe you won't always have an hour, but a half an hour with the dog with no phone, and watch the magic happen.
Yeah. Try out different things that work for you.
I think so.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. Hope you found this week's episode really interesting and helpful. Please do focus on your health. It is the most important thing you have. Thank you for listening or watching. Talk to you again next Friday.